Hi guys, I'm Henry Boger from Adventure Air, and we are a full-service flight school, training, service, and sales center here in Chino, California. So today we're going to do a pre-flight on the AutoGyro Cavalon we have here. This is a newer Cavalon with the Rotex 915 engine. It's turbocharged and fuel injected, 141 horsepower. It's a beaut. So let's get to it. Okay, for the pre-flight, I always start at the nose of the aircraft because that's what I've always done. And the first thing I check on the nose is I check the pitot-static tube. The pitot-static tube is right here, and basically it's a little hole. Air blows into it against a tiny diaphragm, and it measures our airspeed and tells us. If you're ever rolling down the runway and you have no airspeed, you probably have some blockage in the pitot tube. The tube looks good. We're now going to check the tires and the tire pressure. Tire pressure looks good on here. I'm also checking the axle and the axle bolts and the nuts there to make sure everything is tight. I'm also checking the wear on the tire itself, and the wear looks good. All right, we'll continue the pre-flight around the side here. On the Cavalon doors, there's a very specific way to open the doors. You have this hole here, and it looks very tempting to grab this window to try to open or close the door. When you do that, you grab and pull it, it'll crack the plexiglass. So to open the door properly, you reach through the window to the handle, slightly open it, and you can lift the door open. Inside the cabin area, we're going to check a couple of things. Inside the cabin area, the first thing that you want to check, you want to make sure that all of your switches, electrical switches, are off. So down is off on all of our switches here, down is off. Also on the magnetos, they are off, and our key is off too. Switches, magnetos, key, all in the off position. This is important because we're going to go back by the propeller and be moving the propeller. We don't want anything to happen if you accidentally left the mags on. I'm checking the rudder cabling system. The rudder cables are looking pretty good. The rudder system itself actually will be adjustable, and the seats are adjustable too. That all looks good. On the seats, I'm checking the seat belts to make sure there's no wear on the seat belts and that they operate properly. Okay, let's continue on. And next thing we come to is the lights here. Lights on the outside. This is your strobe and your nav light. No cracks in it. It's on securely. There's a lot of screws and bolts on the Cavalon. You always want to check them to make sure that they're not backing out. Most rotorcraft have some vibration to them, and bolts tend to come out, so you always want to check those. On the wheel pant down here, we're going to check those bolts as well. We're also going to check the tire pressure on down here. Tread on the tires looks good. Tire pressure looks good. Also, while I'm down here, we have our radiator system. Want to make sure the hoses on the radiator are snug. There's no leaks on the radiator. We have an oil drip line here, and we have a fuel sump there as well. Tailpipe for the muffler is on tight. Looking in pretty good shape. We're now going to check the oil level. We have the oil door right here. We'll take the oil door off. What I tend to do with the oil door is I put this on the seat so I don't forget. The oil canister is inside here. We're going to check the oil canister to make sure that it has the proper amount in. I take the oil cap off. I'm also going to put the oil cap on the seat, that way you don't forget. The dipstick for the oil can is inside. I'm going to pull it out, and then there is a flat section of the dipstick here which you should have oil on. Now you can see there's no oil on there, so you would think, okay, we need some more oil. Maybe, maybe not. On all Rotex engines, we have to do what's called burping the engine. We're going to turn the propeller counterclockwise, which is the way that it rotates. It actually fills up the oil can, and that's going to give us an accurate measure of the oil. So I'm going to put the dipstick down here for a second. Leaving the cap off, we're going to listen. When the oil can is full, it's going to make kind of a gurgling sound. Again, we're going to turn the prop counterclockwise. While I'm doing that, I'm also checking my prop blades and making sure that there's no dents or wear on those. As I turn the propeller, I do it slowly because, like pulling a syringe out, if you pull a syringe fast, you're not going to get any fluid through there. We're doing the same thing. We're slowly filling up the oil can. If I move this blade fast, it won't work as well. So nice and slow on the blade. The noise you heard, I don't know if you heard it, is the can that's full. Another quick tip is I always leave the blades at a V formation like this, just in case the rotor comes down. If I have the blade that's straight up and down, you can nick your rotor blade. So I leave it in a V shape here. Let's recheck that oil level. Okay, you can see the oil stick here, and there is oil up on the stick. So we have a good oil level now. But you can see if you first checked it, it might look like you were low. You would add oil, then you would actually have too much oil. I'm going to put the oil cap back on. I'm going to put the oil door on. But before I put the oil door on, I want to look around in here and I want to see if I can see anything else that looks incorrect. I'm checking my engine mounts, I'm checking the spark plugs, spark plug caps, basically all the wiring, the hoses, the tubes, anything in here that looks like it's not right or has wear on it, you just want to look for all that. Look. Okay, it all looks good. Let's put the door back on, the oil door. Alright, continuing on. As I was turning the blade, I checked all my blades. They're all in good shape. Down here we have this cool little fin here, but that's actually a rock guard to keep rocks from bouncing up into the propeller. We do have a couple of screws here that we want to make sure are in good, and they look good. Okay, we're back here on the tail. We're going to check the rudder down. The rudder here, we have a long rudder bolt that goes about this far down into the rudder. As we turn the rudder, you make sure the bolt moves back and forth as well. Obviously, if the bolt starts turning only one way, it can unscrew, but this one looks good. We also have a trim tab in the back. The trim tab will have a bend to it, basically. I had a friend who wanted to help me one time, so he straightened out my trim tab, but they should have a bend on them. Continuing on, I'm going to go down, I'm going to check. The cable system on this side looks good. Steering linkage is attached, and the nuts and bolts are in place. We're good. All right, got our wheel pan here. I've got another bolt here, a couple up here, a couple in the back here. I'm also checking my tire pressure on this side. Tire pressure looks good. Also, I can see the antennas and all in here all attached, so you're looking for your antennas. We have our lighting system on this side, navigation and strobe lights. It's on attached firmly, no cracks in it. Next we come to the gas cap. This tank holds 26.4 gallons of car gasoline. We use 91 or better fuel in here, which is pretty awesome. Gas cap I'm going to take off. Once again, I'm going to put the cap on the seat so I know where it is. Okay, the fuel cap is off. We're going to check, we have a dipstick to check the fuel level. Behind the seat, it is in liters. So 10 up to 100 liters, 100 liters being about 26 gallons of fuel. I'm going to put this down in the tank and we'll see what the level is. Make sure it goes all the way to the bottom. And it looks like we're about 40 liters of fuel, which is plenty. Cap goes back on. All right. On the same dipstick here, we have a coolant level check. Now the coolant level only goes this much, and it measures the overflow bottle. That overflow bottle is in the top of the Cavalon here. So I'm going to close this door. I'm going to reach in and we're going to take the cap off. I'm going to put my dipstick down to check the coolant level. And it looks like our coolant level is good. Coolant is corrosive, so if you spill any coolant on your paint job, you may want to wipe it off. When I put the cap back on, I want to make sure I don't cross-thread it, and I only want to put it on finger tight. You don't want to like crush the cap on or you'll never get it off again. Just finger tight. Okay. All right, we're going to reopen the door. Put the stick back behind the seat. Now I'm going to check my seat belts again to make sure there's no abrasions on the seat belts. I'm checking my cabling system on the rudder pedals. I'm checking anything else in the cockpit. Anything that looks wrong is basically what you're looking to try to fix. It all looks like it's in pretty good shape. Okay, we continue on. We're kind of back where we started at the nose of the aircraft here. We're now going to check the rotor system. I always save the rotor system for last because it's very important. So let's check out the rotor. Okay, so we're going to check the rotor system here. We'll start with the hub right here in the middle. So on the rotor hub here, basically, the most important bolt that we have on here is this guy. It's the main rotor bolt. It goes all the way through. And what you want to check to make sure that castle nut is there and the cotter pin is in place. That's very important, castle nut and cotter pin. Then we're going to go down and we're going to check the other bolts on the hub going out to the blades. There are 6 bolts on each blade attached, 6 bolts on that blade, and you want to make sure that those are all snug and that you do see some threads of the bolt coming through. Coming on down to the sprocket, this is the sprocket for the pre-rotor system, and we want to make sure there's no wear on the sprocket and then it looks like it's pretty in good shape. Also, all these other little bolts you want to make sure are in place. Back here we have the Bendix for the pre-rotor. The Bendix hops up, grabs the sprocket and causes the pre-rotation there. Coming on down a little further, we do have more of these nuts that are on there. We want to make sure that those are all not coming out. All right, now let's check the blades themselves. On the blades, we want to go down the length of the blade, looking for any marks or wear or cuts in the blade. Also, we're checking the cleanliness of the blade on the edge here. If we do have dirty blades or we run into bugs or something, we have a lot of buildup on that leading edge, it will affect the aerodynamics of the blade. So we want to make sure that the blades are clean. This blade looks like it's in pretty good shape. All right, we're checking the blades. This one's pretty clean. On this side of the hub, we have some pneumatic connections. So there's some pneumatics here. We make sure that those are plugged in and looking good. All of our screws and nuts and bolts on this side are all pretty happy. More nuts here, looking good. So the rotor system looks really good. All right, so in a nutshell, that's pretty much it for the pre-flight of the AutoGyro Cavalon. And if you like this video, please check like for us and leave us a comment below and subscribe to our channel. And this is Henry from Adventure Air. We hope you have a great day. See ya!